Okay, guys. So, real quick, don't mind me as I completely screw everything up. It's been a weekend. You know what I mean? So, hey, welcome to Tom Clancy Show and another crazy weekend and another piece of stupid news from Electronic Arts. Now, not content just to cash in on loot boxes and $60 roster patches, EA has made the brave decision to include ads in their full price UFC game. Apparently, players were being served ads for The Boys, season 2 so far, pretty good, during instant replay segments. Needless to say, this did not go over very well with fans, and EA has since removed the offending ads. Seriously, though, EA, I get that you're a business and you're trying to push the envelope, but you should really be doing that in a way that increase user satisfaction as opposed to the fatness of board member pockets. But hey, what do I know, right? I'm just a robot on the internet. Now, Microsoft and Sony have been playing a righteous game of chicken with their lack of announcement regarding release dates and pricing for their new consoles, but Microsoft has finally flinched, sort of. This November on the 10th, players will be able to pick up the Xbox Series X and the formerly rumored and now confirmed Series S. Now, Series S is going to retail for $300, but it's not going to have disk drive, and the CPU and GPU are going to be a little bit slower. But, you know, we still don't know what the Series X is going to cost. Now, of course, for $500, you could just buy an RTX 3070 and place that into just about any computer, assuming that your power supply and your motherboard are compatible with that, and you have access to that in October, and you'd be able to play every game that's coming out for the Xbox, as well as have VR support. Or not, you know, if you don't like value for money. And yeah, Timmy, I do the news now. Now, also, we had our wonderful giant mug aficionado and corporate shill, Ajit Pai, has proposed levying a fine against the ISP known as Barrier Free for providing the FCC with false user data. Now, of course, this was after Pai used said user data to support his claim that broadband saturation was continuing apace. It isn't. Needless to say, they both lied, but at least Pai admitted the data was incorrect. That is likely to be the last time I say anything nice about Ajit Pai. Also, look at his stupid fucking mug. Unless he chugs coffee like Ogre from Revenge of the Nerds chugs beer, it's all going rancid and cold by the time he gets to the bottom. And, look, my personal theory, it's to draw attention away from how horribly bad he is at everything. Now, in other news, people in Taiwan waited in a 100-meter long line for a one-day only chocolate Whopper at Burger King. I don't have a joke for this one. People just waited in a long-ass line for a burger with chocolate sauce on it. Now, the last bit of news we have is the wonderful war that is continuing between Epic and Apple is raging on as Epic has filed yet another injunction against Apple. This time, Epic is trying to get Fortnite back on the App Store, a reinstatement of their developer account, and further protections from potential retaliation from Apple. I know I'm going to bulldoze a lot of nuance on this one, but for fuck's sake, Apple, get your shit together. Apply your rules equally across the entire spectrum of the App Store. Support programs like xCloud. I mean, your walled garden bullshit is bullshit, and the only thing you're doing right is protecting customers' privacy. Maybe it's time to show some real courage and open up your platform for better user experience as opposed to removing the goddamn headphone jack. But what do I know? I'm only a lifelong Apple user. So, to get to the actual fun part of this show, my guest tonight is the developer behind a game called Night Signal. It's an upcoming horror game centered around the family television. And no, it is not a 2020 newscast simulator. Bits and Pixels, Nick Lives. Hey, Nick, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, man. Well, before we start getting into talking about Night Signal, the most important question of the day, what are you playing right now?
A couple of things on and off. Spooky season starts early in this household, so we've been playing a bit. My wife and I have been playing a bit of Luigi's Mansion on the Switch, the third one.
Yeah.
Since that's the one available, and I've been replaying Resident Evil 3 on occasion to just try and I don't know, get more records for the sake of it, because it's just kind of a fun game to replay.
I've never actually played Resident Evil 3. I have played 1 for brief amounts of time and 4.
The original one or the remake of 1?
Both.
Both? Okay. I actually never beat any of the originals until they started remaking them, because I was very young when they came out.
I was not so very young, but
Oh.
Hold on a sec. I'm just going to look at the ceiling here. Solve this little issue here. Don't worry, it's not a huge issue, but I have to look at my ceiling to solve problems. There we are. Oh, Pigeon Man. I don't know what Nick's Twitter has led me to, but I like it. Thanks for coming to the show.
By.
Yeah, exactly. Childish Rambino, glad to have you here as well. Of course, Timmy, you're here like all the time, but enjoy having you all the same. So, you said spooky season, Resident Evil remakes, trying to get records. What are you, like, speed running or something?
Kind of. So the way records work in this new one, at least, is they're kind of like these achievements, but they give you like in-game currency to buy cheat type stuff. Like you can buy an infinite rocket launcher if you get enough of these of this currency, and different things that help you speed up your future runs. So it is kind of optimized towards making you into a speedrunner. I've never seen any other game do something like this, but maybe it's more maybe it happens in other Capcom games, and I just don't know because I don't play a lot of their other titles. But oh my goodness, Kitty,
I was just about to ask. That looked an awful lot like an orange tabby cattail.
Oh yes, this is my little torty cat right here, as we call her, and she just gets real jealous when I talk to the computer. She must come and grab some of the attention she is not currently getting.
I can fully understand that. I have a small cat myself. Her name is Pumpkin, and whenever I'm on the telephone,
okay,
well,
that's funny.
She likes to think she's talking. Someone. It's weird, especially considering that they have built an entire language of sounds they normally wouldn't use to communicate with us.
Yeah, I did. When I read about that, that was super strange to me, that they don't normally ever meow at each other. It's purely for our sake. So they've developed their own whiny language to use against us.
Yeah, just as a brief aside for everybody who doesn't know, cats normally communicate through things like posture and subsonic sounds that we can't hear because, well, our senses suck. But they meow and things of that nature specifically to communicate to us because they're smart enough to have figured out that we don't do the whole subsonic thing.
Yeah. Cats are a lot smarter than I was initially led on. I wasn't really a cat person until we got this cat, and she is just all kinds of surprising.
I can certainly understand that one. Well, before we get completely derailed talking about cats, dude, that is going to be like the best accidental distraction of the show. I can tell you that right now. But before we get completely derailed with all that, I would, so you're working on a game called Night Signal. Tell us about it.
Yeah, sure. So Night Signal is naturally it's a horror game about a spooky television, is the way I put it shortly. Essentially, it is set in a Twilight Zone-esque, vague 50s, 60s era. It's 1963, technically, in the game. And you're in kind of an alternate universe version of America, watching on your brand new television set. And at night, uh, using the antenna of the television, you can tune into strange signals that appear at night that lead to creepy things happening.
One of those creepy things I have right here in this screenshot. Uh, yeah, that's creepy, bro.
I'll have to see which one you're referring to once it comes up.
They look
Oh,
like,
yes.
yeah, the mixture between like hands and roots, which I presume are going to chase you.
Those are going to chase you around, and they are one of the many effects of tuning into the night signal.
Um, who used the television to hurt you?
Television.
Okay.
Used the television at one point. This, I guess, it was partially, the concept in general was partially inspired by just like, I think a childhood memory a lot of us will have about staying up too late when you're not supposed to one night and catching something on the television that shocks or surprises you. Not meant for child eyes. Um, and feeling guilt about that. I grew up in Utah, so this might be a particularly. It may be that the guilt part is more how I was raised. It's a very religious state. You may or may not know that.
I was completely unaware that the home of the Mormons would be a religious
Be a
state.
religious state, yes.
Yeah.
It's like thing. I mean, The Simpsons here is like very. That's edgy. That's like that's like that's where the bar is set, right?
I mean,
um,
no, I can't even in fairness that, because even, original Simpsons, which is where a lot of the kind of like, for lack of a better word, hatred and dislike of the show comes from, it was even still tamed the by the standards of the era.
was
And
it? Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with how it was received upon first, coming out.
well, I'm not saying it was received well. I'm saying
Oh,
that
okay.
because it wasn't the original. I mean,
I'm
no, it
guessing
was.
it was still probably controversial for
Yeah.
cartoon characters to swear or something, right?
Well, I mean, they didn't swear. You couldn't swear on network television in the late '80s, early '90s. But they were. It was the first time we saw a cartoon outside of like the theaters and outside of Japan that was really catering to an older audience.
Right.
But because it's a cartoon, it's for children.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of that came from. And if you look back, and I mean, yeah, there's a few plot lines that, like one of the first episodes of the show is they go to family therapy and they start beating each other with bats, you know. And
Right.
like the whole idea of like, I'm pretty positive that the idea of them hitting each other with bats was fine, because like, dude, I grew up on Looney Tunes. Like those guys fired cannons at each
Right.
other's faces. But the whole idea that like a family had to go to therapy, oh, that's
Mhm.
transgressive. So
Yeah, I guess it's kind of these days it's definitely very tame compared to all the stuff that's happened since, probably possibly due to The Simpsons. But there's a lot more transgressive stuff now, or just more outright more vile stuff that one can point to. South Park is definitely much more mean spirited than anything in The Simpsons. Um, but I also caught that one time late night on television when I wasn't supposed to. and that
Man,
was
you had a completely different late night television experience than I did, because let me tell you, I did not feel guilty for one damn thing that I saw on late night television. I
what
mean,
was
I
for you?
remember when I was 5, crawling under the couch where my parents were watching RoboCop
Oh,
and watching RoboCop at
right.
5.
Yeah,
So,
read that, which having now seen it, I could see, I would like. I guess there's a difference between feeling guilt and then also, but enjoying whatever it is you're watching. Which I mean, I totally would have enjoyed uh, RoboCop had it been on. I think an element of this maybe that adds to it as well is probably that my parents would never have watched RoboCop. Even like if I grew up in that same era, my parents were just conservative enough in terms of what they would watch that I don't think I would even catch them watching that. So it's like I was watching things they wouldn't even watch. Um, so it felt extra bad, and I was always kind of the goody two shoes kid growing up, as far as listening to the rules, doing what you're told, all that good stuff. That's just kind of the mindset I grew up with. Naturally, the moment I was able to, I consumed and devoured all kinds of shit at a rapid pace. I think the moment I turned
good man.
17, I had started, and I waited till I was 17, admittedly, because, like I said, goody two shoes over here. Um,
The
I
MPAA says no one under the age of 17 to be admitted without a responsible
with,
adult.
without a responsible adult, and since my parents weren't willing most of the time, as soon as I was 17, just started ordering, or renting or whatever was available. Uh, every nasty horror film I could. Um, because they had, for years, they were just things that I had read about on Wikipedia online, which, that's a unique element, I guess, a unique access point for me growing up was that you could read about these things, and that wasn't seen as like a bad thing. You just couldn't watch them.
Man, you missed out on all of the fun of asking the kids who are allowed to watch those movies what those movies were about.
Oh, I didn't know any kids who watched those
Well, I
movies.
mean,
I
I
mean, that's
did
the
because I
thing. Yeah.
didn't grow up in Utah, but uh,
Yeah, when you grow up in Utah, it's like if you're into this stuff, it's very hard to find other people who are.
well,
At least until you get older.
you know what you have in Delta or not? You know what you have in Utah that me and my Maryland upbringing didn't have?
Mm.
Del Taco.
We got that. We got Del Taco.
And Del
We live
Taco's
right next, we used
delicious.
to live right next to one, so we would have a lot of Del Taco.
Well, television is your main inspiration, which big surprise.
You're right.
It's a television game, but at the same time, I do have a question. Did you drink coffee as a kid? Because Chroma says in chat, he probably didn't even drink coffee, and I just have to ask after that comment.
I I did not for the longest time until it opened up for me in late high school because I kept falling asleep in class. So at that point, my parents were like, "Okay, well, if it's going to help you stay awake,
Well,
then
maybe you shouldn't have been staying up so late watching things you weren't supposed to on the Sin box.
it's my bad."
Um, well, with going with the TV, and I just have another screenshot here I want to share. But what made you decide to go with like this retro aesthetic?
Um, it's so every decision I make as a solo game developer, I also work with a team studio called Deli Interactive, and that's where I make the majority of my income is through projects over there. But on my own, when I decide to make my own stuff, obviously starting small is really important. So um, the aesthetic kind of just came out of what was cheap for me to do. uh, first and foremost. I wanted to make a 3D game, and I'm not really. I'm a 2D artist for the most part. I don't dabble a lot in 3D. I do have an animation degree, and I learned how to do 3D in Maya, and then the moment I left college, I realized that um, Maya is super fucking expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and that the go to option for free stuff was Blender, and Blender is
Is
just
Blender.
is Blender. Yeah, it's nothing like Maya. Like all the same tools are ostensibly there, but they're all in weird alien places, and I couldn't get back on the saddle with that. And the game I was making and it was 2D anyway, so I didn't really have much reason to touch 3D stuff. So my skill set in that area kind of fell off and died.
Yeah.
Um, but I wanted to make this TV game, and I thought, well, maybe I could do it in 3D if I just use, existing assets. But I don't want any. I don't want to fall into the camp of games that everybody calls an asset flip when they look at it.
Yeah.
So to mask that, I stripped the textures off everything, and then decided I'm only going to go with solid colors, and that just kind of lent itself well to black and white. Plus, the TV theme made me think of like Outer Limits and Twilight Zone. So there's kind of a natural aesthetic fit there. Um, and and yeah, that's and admittedly another reason why it's even a TV themed game is because all of the original assets that I'm going to make are going to be filtered through this TV, so I can just make them how I would make them as a 2D artist. So I can utilize Photoshop and Premiere and just make interesting, weird stuff to put on the TV.
Yeah.
Um,
That's also something I wanted to talk to you about because in the screenshots you sent over to me, one of the ones two of them, I only pulled one for the show, which I'm going to say, show to the audience now. Some of these weird television creations, it looks like you're sculpting them in clay and then doing photography and then
yes,
feeding that through. So it's interesting that you're like, I'm doing 2D, but you're
that's
doing
true. That's
3D
true.
to do
I
the
do
2D.
3D I'm doing 3D my way, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess yeah, because I can sculpt. Um, but the main reason I chose to do that specifically was because there's a one of the scariest games I'd ever played had this stop motion art style, and I just never seen anything else tempt that look before. So I thought that would maybe be another unique selling point for my game would be that all the people in it don't look like people, even when they are on the even when they're regular people on the TV. They're clay people
Yeah.
because it kind of gives this uncanny valley feeling when like everything else is relatively normal, but people look weird. They don't look like regular people. I do recommend you check out this game, by the way, if you haven't heard of it. Um, the game I was inspired by for the clay bit specifically is called The Dark Eye. And unfortunately, it's even harder to look up now thanks to another game series that's a fantasy series coming out called The Dark Eye. I presumably because these guys, this game didn't do well enough to, hang on to any kind of trademark or anything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of gotten buried. Um, and I think it's like in pretty thoroughly in abandonware territory now. But it was this Edgar Allan Poe game where you played through several Edgar Allan Poe stories, and it were all these creepy, barely animated stop motion, just clay characters. And they all have this really disturbing quality to them. So yeah, that's kind of just like a personal taste thing. Like I just wanted an element of that
Yeah.
um, in my spooky game.
Well, I mean, dude, it's spooky. I mean, just looking at the screenshots, like, and just real quick for everybody, you can wishlist the game on Steam right now. So Night Signal, go check it out. Has all the wonderful screenshots and everything too. So it's like, as you said, it does look like a Twilight Zone episode, and you make some of your characters look close enough to people that when you look at it, it kind of like triggers that response in your brain where you're like, that's a person. But then when you take a moment to really look at it, you're like, whoa, that's not a person.
They're not right.
Yeah, and which is one of those things that like Twilight Zone did a very good job of with their kind of, because I mean, it was the 1960s, they had zero budget, and it's like, how are you going to make people look weird? We'll put some shit on their face,
Right.
And it's
very simple things. Yeah, like the Masks episode of the Twilight Zone is a big inspiration for that kind of look.
One of my personal favorites is the woman who was getting the surgery to help her face.
Yes,
and
the Eye of the Beholder.
Yeah, I mean, it's just this such a crazy, wonderful era for television, the likes of which we will never see again.
But I don't know, the new Twilight Zone wasn't too bad.
I haven't watched it because it's hidden behind another subscription service.
Yeah. I did like the free trial thing, and I watched as many as I could, and then that was it. But it was good for what I saw.
I mean, like, I'm a huge Star Trek nerd, so.
So
I mean, I haven't watched any of Discovery. I haven't watched Lower Decks, and I only caught the premiere of Picard because they put it for free up on YouTube when the whole pandemic thing started. But I need to sit down and actually just one day just bite the bullet, pay for it for a month, and then cancel.
That's the way to do it. That's just how it's done these days, apparently.
Hey, it's not the worst solution to the artificially created problem. Honestly, and the thing about it that gets to me specifically is that it's CBS. They're a network. They're supposed to be free.
Oh, were they available without cable back in the day?
Yeah, the networks were the only thing available back in the day.
Okay, right.
I mean, they were the only thing. They've always been available over the airwaves. To the best of my knowledge, if you still use an antenna, which some people do, you can still get them for free over the airwaves. So, but, it's like, why make a lot of money when you can make all the money?
That's always the question being asked.
Yeah.
Like, to just have a stable business. A stable business, that doesn't please stockholders.
No. And, I just want to take this moment real quick just to say to everybody, I know that if this is your first time in the show, I come across as like some crazy, huge anti-capitalist like guy. And that's true. Like, look, man, I'm not against the idea of capitalism. I am against the way it is practiced currently. Because everybody likes to say, oh, the stock market, oh, the economy, all that stuff is BS, man, because at the end of the day, the economy and the true wealth of any company or anything are the people. It's like Nintendo gets it. When Nintendo hit their huge financial problems when the Wii U came out because that thing sucked, they cut salaries at the top level of the company and they didn't fire anybody. Because the wealth of Nintendo isn't Mario and it isn't Zelda, it's the people that make those games. Because without those people, they got nothing.
And if the only way you justify giving your CEO a huge, pay is because they have so much responsibility, then maybe they should be treated like they have that responsibility when it goes wrong. Because that's never the case in America.
It never is, because it's like
out because like they're disposable or whatever, and like No, like you cut the top's paycheck. You're gonna probably get way more bang for your buck as a cut because they can still get by. You still get them. Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
and yeah, you could cut all day, and you'd probably see a much more useful uh, new capital to utilize.
You know, I keep threatening a political episode of this show, and one day it's just gonna happen. Like I'm not gonna. I like what's likely to happen is I won't tell anybody who the guest is gonna be, and then like sitting in that chair is gonna be like I don't know, like Sarah Kenzie or Bernie Sanders or something, and I'm just gonna be like, all right, guys, this is a political episode. Bernie, Sarah, let's get right down to it, you know. And one day it'll happen. It's gonna happen. That'll be the day, man. That'll be the day. But yeah, but besides that, because we could sit here and we could talk about that all day, or we could talk about the making of Night Signal. And so you've been working on this primarily as a solo project, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
this is my second solo project after my first one was Doodle Date. I don't know if you guys have heard of Doodle Date.
I have not. I will freely admit.
That's fair. It's I mean there's a bajillion games out in the world, but that was the first kind of solo hit I did. I say hit, I mean like it did well enough for what I wanted it to do. It was a visual novel. It was a dating simulator where you drew your own date, and it got weird. And
like I'm not laughing at the game. I'm laughing at the idea of it. Like that's just crazy in all of the fun ways.
I made that one because I was partially out of spite because I kept seeing all these dating sims just like make so much money, and I'm like, well, damn it, I can make a dating sim. I bet I could pump one of these out, and I just thought it would be very funny to make a dating sim that's a bait and switch, like that draws people who don't like dating sims because they want to make fun of it, and then turns it around on them. So I thought that nothing would draw someone who wants to make fun of a dating simulator than the idea that they could draw their own date, because they're going to draw they're going to draw a dick. And so the game was designed around the idea that they would draw a dick. So anyway, that was so fun to make. So but then
let's see what you did there.
I was very, very happy with how that one was received and turned out.
This guy. You're all right, Nick. You're all right.
Oh, thank you.
I like the cut of your jib. I now want to track this game down and draw my date as a dick and see what happens.
Good. I would love for you to go through that journey. It's
the way you say that just makes that sound like some horrible, horrible thing, and I can't wait.
But yeah, so that did well enough. That's been paying for my groceries. So I was like, let's try to get another grocery game going. So another game with a similar scope. And oh shit, you know what? I don't know what the original question was because I think I derailed it.
I was just wondering how it's been working as a solo developer.
I was so just as a solo, right? Yeah, I mean, like it's with this one in particular, it's been a lot harder than Doodle Date was because Doodle Date, I mean, I went into it with such a trollish mentality. It was pretty easy to write. And this one, once I decided what my inspirations were, like I basically, the first thing I did was to just get myself to ensure I would make this one and not add it to my like list of partially abandoned projects, which every developer has, particularly solo developers.
I have an external hard drive that is just
for that.
Just for that.
it's yeah, we're notorious for it, right? I wanted to force myself to finish this one because I had scrapped a couple of solo projects between Doodle Date and this one. So my first goal was to just get it looking sellable from the start. And so that's why the art style came together really quick and everything, like the concept, general concept came together. And then I just threw up the Steam store page and started telling people about it. And then I realized that I needed to actually make a game. Um, and so that part has been very difficult because I kind of wrote myself in a corner to start with this particular title, because I decided that it was going to be this single room um, experience, for budgetary reasons, and because I could make that one room look pretty good. And it's just been very tricky to design around that, and without people to bounce off of. There definitely been a lot of months of just no work gets done on Night Signal,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, it's
which
one of the
similar.
things a lot of people don't really kind of think of when they're working alone is that so much work happens just bouncing an idea off of somebody.
Yeah, yeah, or like seeing what somebody else, seeing the commit somebody else just made might inspire you to jump in and like tweak it or do something to it, and then that will inspire something else. So like, yeah, not having the back and forth definitely makes it a much slower process. Um, but it is freeing to know that I can just throw in, like, if I want to do a complete tonal shift of the game, there's not there's not that's not going to be a controversial decision because it's just because it's mine, right? I'm the
Yeah.
only person who has to go through. um and that actually did kind of happen recently with this. Is I kind of took a shift when I started making this game. um it was a little more serious because with the Twilight Zone inspiration, with the Dark Eye inspiration, those games have or those those medias. One's a television show, one's a game. I don't know what to call them. Have a kind of gravity to them. The way they're written, they're
Yeah.
they're, they're very smart, and I kept trying to write like that, and that's just not very natural for me. I tend towards comedy.
Yeah.
Um, is kind of my default. I as an aside, I mean, I actually did write for a little while, for the front page of the comedy site Something Awful.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes super naturally. So I just pivoted to more that direction recently, and it's gotten a lot easier to develop for now. So it's nice that I can just do that. Um, whereas with a team project, people set up a project with probably with a certain tone in mind. I think like people definitely, I think tone shifts are a little harder on team projects, but I guess that's just any shift.
Yeah. Well, I
So
mean, it's kind of one of the benefits of working with the team, as we just discussed a moment ago, is having people to bounce ideas off of. But then at the same time, kind of in that same vein, one of the problems, or not problems, but drawbacks of working with the team is that people tend to hold on to their ideas and just
yeah,
just not let go of them, and I
right.
mean, I'm guilty of this.
Mhm.
Everyone's guilty of this. And it can be very hard to kind of find that balance, and letting go of an idea is hard,
Yeah,
especially when it's yours.
yeah,
Sometimes you have ideas that are worth keeping and holding on to, like a certain television show that I might
right.
currently be doing. And you have these things that are worth holding on to. Maybe they aren't right at the moment, but they might pan out next time. And Pigeon Man, thank you for that follow. But then sometimes you get those ideas that I'm trying to think of like Halo, let's say, instead of being only able to carry 2 guns, they decided you could only carry 1. Like, no, that'd be a stupid idea.
Right.
You know, like just take that idea and just throw it out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, wow, that pen went far.
Yeah.
Uh, sorry everybody in the audience if that hit anyone. It was just ones and zeros. You'll be fine. Uh, but yeah. So beyond that, with the struggles of working as a single developer, what have been like some of the real benefits and kind of fun of it? Which I mean, I feel like you touched on that a little bit with
Yeah.
saying that you know you can just kind of like
Can do
change the
paradigm
tone.
shift,
Yeah,
yeah, on a dime. That's really nice. I also really like in a personal on a solo project, you can I believe very strongly in art as a means of expression, of honest expression. I think the truer an art is to the expression of the artist making it, the to me that increases the value of the art, regardless as uh, regardless of how polished the art is. So like, I think one of the best pieces of game art is Deadly Premonition, um, because it is just so it's honest to the tastes of the person who led the design on it, um, to a fault, but like I like the fault. So I
yeah,
there's less pressure to put out something that is going to make everybody look good, and I think that's very freeing as an artist, to be able to put this out, warts and all, when it's all done, and to decide what I think is worth keeping, what warts are worth keeping,
yeah,
because it's not really that doesn't really come up at all in team projects, like very often. Like how willing are we to make ourselves look like fools? Um, I mean, certainly it comes up more in indie development. I mean, um, for one of the team games I worked on, We Need to Go Deeper. It's a cooperative submarine roguelike.
Oh, I am aware of that game. I have watched the Rooster Teeth people play it.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah, so I did the art for that one. And like, it's not, it doesn't not ever come up. Like, certainly in that game, we're very free to just add our weird little quirks and stuff to things. But
Yeah,
um, it's definitely always comforting to know that I can just kind of be very self indulgent in the way that I make Night Signal.
yeah.
That it just be about the stuff. Like I just added a feature the other day that I realized was purely something that just I like, and it might be hard to justify otherwise, but it might actually help pivot the game in the direction. Like, it might help pivot the gameplay in the way that I would like players to play it in, to see that thing that I like. And it's bestiaries. I love bestiaries in games. I spend too much time reading them when they come up, um, and yeah, it's just cool. I guess that's kind of on the same lines. It's just adding things
Yeah.
on a dime is very freeing.
I can
And
fully understand that. I frequently just add things to the show for no reason.
you're right, because it's something you like want to add, right? Like, you can't really describe it sometimes. Like, you can't justify that this will make the game better, right? Like, there's I think game design has kind of gotten overtaken a little by the um, mathematical approach. Like, Valve, for instance, loves to test their games into oblivion, and that does produce very polished products. But I feel like you lose humanity a little when you when you when you rough out all the sharp edges like that. And
We're gonna
Yeah, I
have
think.
to agree to disagree on that one.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. I know that's a. I
Like, I
I
see where you're going with it, and like, there's definitely merit to the argument you're making. I just disagree.
Fair enough. That's totally fair. Yeah, I take a very artsy fartsy view on art sometimes, and I think and that's why I talk about the expression thing. I think a solo project definitely um it's more likely that it may feel like I made good art than a good product. I think I can make a better product with a team, but I think I might be able to make more honest art as someone just throwing themselves into a weird little self-indulgent project, and that it will definitely not be very polished. I can promise you that. So
Well,
I will say that if that scares you off, that does suck. But as a solo developer who is primarily an artist before they're a programmer, um, I am only so capable of delivering on the polish front. I will say.
it's okay. Nobody's perfect. Well,
No.
Nick, I'm unfortunately out of questions,
Oh, fair enough.
but
I
it's okay
appreciate you asking them.
because before I let you go, there's
Hmm.
one last thing that I subject all of my guests to, and it's
Okay.
a little bit that I like to call the 5 questions.
Okay.
Now, the 5 questions are a series of, well, 5 questions that I prepared before the show that have, nope, nothing to do whatsoever with anything we've talked about so far today.
Okay. I'm up for it.
All right, so I was just about to, the question 0 of this is, are you ready? And you cut me
Oh,
off.
sorry. Yes, absolutely.
All right, good. So, question number 1: what is your favorite Star Trek movie?
I'm good. I don't know if I'm particularly fond of any of them, but um, oh man, no, you're gonna hate me for this. It's like maybe the J.J. Abrams reboot because I fell asleep during the other ones.
I have no problem with that because I enjoyed Star Trek 2009 a great deal.
Okay, that's the one. Yeah, 2000. Yeah, 2009. Yeah, it was
And I
fun.
wasn't asking you which one was the best. I was asking you which one was your favorite. Had you
Sure.
said that was the best one, you would have
Then
been wrong.
got problems.
No, not problems. You would have been wrong. It's
Okay.
that simple.
Clear cut.
Question number 2: who would win in a fight, the Doomslayer or the Master Chief?
Oh boy. I'm gonna say the Doomslayer, just because he wants it more.
I'm not going to disagree with that, and especially since the Covenant calls Master Chief a demon. Chances
Oh,
are Doomslayer is going to fight that much harder. Uh, question number 3. Oh, nope. Timmy says that she would win. Timmy, you were not one of the options, so you don't get to win this fight. Just the way it goes. But question number 3. Does RGB belong on PCs?
does RGB belong on PCs?
Yeah,
Oh,
the whole like RGB
yeah.
lighting thing that's going on right now. Are you for or against this movement?
I wait. I didn't know this was a thing. So wait, is there any context I can be given about this?
Like, like
I may not be aware.
so
Like,
if you are building a PC right
uh-huh.
now, you can literally get every component with some form of RGB LED lighting. And I mean, well, with the exception of the processor, because, obvious reasons, but CPU coolers, power supplies, GPUs, motherboards,
Oh, like
RAM.
physical lights on the
Yeah.
part. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, dude,
As
I
in,
don't. Yeah, look, man, yo, if Linus enters chat, he's on my side, which is I'm pretty sure he's like not like, dude. I'm not like against RGB, but like,
I've never heard of this. It's like a PC building thing.
yeah, man, like where have you been for the last like 4 years? Oh,
I've not.
Utah. Uh,
Oh, oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure that color that light up fans and stuff must be against some like Mormon computer rule or something. The 11th commandment: thy PC shall not have any RGB.
GP. I'm gonna say I'm probably neutral on this, but I'm gonna say no. I'm against it, just because to me computers are very much a like. If you're building it for aesthetic reasons, that's alien to me because I see computers as purely very like they do the thing they're meant to do. So like if it interferes with that at all, then it's fundamentally at odds with why you would build a computer. But if you got it, if you have like I don't know, if there's like a desktop version of like the Christmas tree decorating competitions,
Oh, there is.
then okay, well then I'm all for it in that context.
Because at the Penny Arcade Expo, back when we used to be able to go to conventions, they would always have a like custom PC rig competition. I mean, usually it would just be like the big like system integrators that would participate in it. But it's actually brought about some really interesting bits of tech that have found their way into everyday PC building. Like forget which company made it, but they made a tempered glass side panel that has an integrated translucent LCD.
Boy, I words. I I'm
Dude,
not sure.
like I'm gonna be honest, because I'm not a huge fan of RGB because I
Like
think RGB is
monitor.
weird. But yeah, it's
Okay.
basically it's meant to be. It's a monitor sandwiched in the glass that's meant to help give you system information.
Huh.
And you
Okay.
can also
That's interesting.
customize it to like flash like images and like do effects and stuff. And
Oh, sure.
because like I kind of see it like I'm like people who modify their cars, like I'll never do that because I don't care enough about my car. And like but like when I build my PCs, I like to, like I try to stick within my budgets and all that stuff. But, like I like white cases. And so when I build, I want to try and match my case, And so it's like, yeah, I kind of understand. But also, no, no. Uh, no, I'm not putting a spoiler on my car or my computer. Um, my computer has plenty of downforce already. I use several exhaust fans pushing up out of the top of the case. So, heat naturally rises anyway. So, question number 4.
Okay.
What is the trade skill that you would most want to learn?
Oh. Well, I mean, most relevant to me would probably be like learning Blender in and out
I
because
wouldn't call that a trade skill. I'm talking
it's not a
more
trade skill.
like no, like Blender's an artistic skill.
Oh,
Can it be
oh, okay. Sorry. What's a
used
trade
for a
skill?
trade? Yeah, I'm talking more like stuff like blacksmithing, woodworking,
Oh,
like a
okay.
traditional trade skill.
Oh, okay. Okay. Like old-fashioned trade skills. Hmm. Geez. Maybe I guess I can't think of any off the top of my head at all. Like now that you've painted the context, I'm like, what are other ones? Like, uh, yeah, I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Is plumbing a trade skill? Can I take up plumbing?
I'll allow it.
A lot of plumbing. I think
Yeah.
plumbing would be quite useful in it to just have like just be an expert in plumbing in addition to whatever I'm doing because you're never not gonna have toilet problems in your life. You're gonna or pipe problems in general. You're
Yeah.
gonna run into them all
Well, I
the
mean,
time.
even if you're just digging a hole in the backyard, eventually that hole is going to fill up.
Does that relate to plumbing?
Well, I mean, I'm just using the whole like just
In real life.
toilet thing, you know, like
Right.
there will be be plumbing problems even if there is no plumbing.
Even if there's no plumbing. Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. In a post-apocalyptic universe, in a post-apocalyptic world that we are soon approaching, they're still going to need plumbers. So I ought to get on that.
One of the benefits Chroma drops in chat is plumbers get $50 just for walking in the door.
That's a good
Like,
deal.
I feel
I like
like
that.
that's embellished a bit, but at the same time, he's right.
Plumbers are, yeah, they are like doctors in that way. That's great.
Yeah, I can have an HVAC person come to my house and give me a free estimate on what it would cost to like heat, cool the whole thing and take an hour of their time. No money. Plumber comes to my house, nah man, he's getting paid. So they got a good thing going for him.
They got
So
the good thing going. Respectable profession, and everybody's favorite video game man is one. So there you go. Goals.
yeah. Now I will say we really lack a lot of context for what's going on with Bowser. You know,
Yeah,
like
he's all over the place.
well, when you think about it, right? Like we don't know. Him and the princess might actually have a real relationship.
Yeah, I've heard that
Maybe
before.
she's the Rapunzel in this instance, right? Like we don't know. For all we know, is we're the bad guys.
They're just interrupting their role playing session very
Yeah.
frequently.
We're the ones who are guarding the status quo and making sure like that, she's not going off to get with the dragon guy.
Mario is a just a very upset incel.
Yeah, or maybe like we all like kind of joke, oh, he's a plumber. Maybe plumber is like their euphemism for like hitman. So I mean, like they call them fixers in other places, like hey, he's a plumber. He's gonna make sure things disappear down the pipe. So I don't know. I'm just throwing some food for thought out there. Before we get to question number 5, what is your favorite non-water beverage?
Uh, favorite non-water beverage. The forbidden beverage for me is Dr. Pepper. I do really enjoy it, but I can't have it because it's it's bad. It's bad for my thing. It's bad for all the things, really. Like there's nothing good about it. If they made Crystal Dr. Pepper, I'd be all over that. But
As somebody who had Crystal Pepsi when it was a thing, you do not know what you're asking for.
Did it taste different? I thought it was just
Oh no,
Pepsi,
it tasted different. Dude, you can't
tainted looking.
You cannot make something clear without taking some of the taste away from it.
Huh.
Without changing something.
Shit ton of caramel dye in there. I didn't think it contributed to the taste.
Oh, it did.
Okay.
It did. It's like people that tell you when you were a kid, like, oh, diet and regular taste just the same. No, they don't.
No, I can attest to that one. They definitely do not.
Yeah,
but
don't lie to me.
Whenever I can sneak a Dr. Pepper, I will do so because it is it's a very unique taste. I just can't really get anywhere else. I'm very I could give a shit about Coca-Cola and Pepsi most of the time. They taste weird to me, but Dr. Pepper is the right balance of whatever the hell it is.
It's like 42 flavors, so or
I know, right?
That,
I guess
that,
can't really pinpoint it.
Yeah, there's like some cherry in there. There's some who knows what else in there. But yeah, man, I feel you. Like Dr. Pepper is like a nice change of pace beverage.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a little more. It's a little refreshing. I like those the vanilla Dr. Pepper and all. All the different flavors they have on available. They're always good, and I think I just like it more now that I can't have it. So that might be might be a big part of it now.
That seems fair. Well, Nick, you have given what's the word I'm looking for here? You have given acceptable answers to all of the 5 questions. So I'm going to award you this notebook.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you for
that
the.
has never happened before.
I I'm still waiting to see.
Duckus, solve the mystery.
Oh, there it is. Oh, thank you for handing me the notebook. I
Yes.
phased it through my hand into my pocket.
Okay.
It's it's in a good place now.
Good to know. So, Nick, aside from the Twitter, which I have been cycling through on my wonderful little box right there, is there anywhere else people should go to get information about, you, any updates for Night Signal, bad jokes?
Yeah, definitely follow me on Twitter. That's the main place where I update about Night Signal. I plan to at some point use the announcements on the Steam page to make, like if there's like whenever a trailer comes out, stuff like that. So you might consider following the Steam page in addition to wishlisting it. Um, but
It
if you have to
helps him a
do
lot.
one thing, wishlist Night Signal, obviously. That helps a lot with the algorithm. And follow me on Twitter is a good secondary for that.
Cool. Well, Nick, it's been awesome having you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I
Oh,
appreciate
absolutely, man.
the time.
Yeah. Well, now I get to switch back over to this camera angle and say thank you, everybody who joined us today for the show. Specifically, Pigeon Man, Rigor Mortis. Thank you both for the follows today. Rigor Mortis, I know you followed before the show, but I still got a little thing over here that tells me you did. So thank you. Everybody in chat, thank you also very much for being active and having fun with us today. This week we have shows through Friday. So tomorrow I'll be talking with Jose Abalos. I don't know how to pronounce that, and I'm going to feel terrible about it until I find out tomorrow, for their game What the Pup. Wednesday, Bunny Box Games with You Arrive in a Town, and Loosen is going to be the game on Friday. All of the shows are going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which makes everything so much simpler for me. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. Have a round of applause, because you're excellent. Let's remember, wear that mask, drink some water, have some vitamins, and be kind to each other. So have a great day. Have a wonderful night. And I'll see you on the next episode of That Thom Clancy Show. Until then, bye.